Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming. If some of you know me on Twitter, the Gaming Dragon, today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Adastra. Oh, the last episode was quite a doozy, y'all, so let's go ahead and jump right back in and see how this turns out, shall we? Oh, Lord Kyllian, please don't die. But anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back in. Alarm chain, you are up, and let's go. Alright. Am I dying? I try to cover my neck again, but the gash is so deep, it feels like if I lean too far back, my head will just flop over onto my back. Vaguely, I hear Amicus' snarling sounds, along with Cato's raspy screams, sounding just like me when I was trying to talk. The edges of my vision start to go blurry and black, and Nephru's face starts to fade away. Then suddenly there's a big shift and I wake back up, this time finding Amicus looking down at me. An overwhelming sense of relief comes over me. I do get to see my wolf after all. I smile up at him, even as he stares at me with a look of complete and utter devastation. No, please. Get Felix. Virginia, to Alex, get Felix. His tears start to fall down on my face, and I reach up, trying to brush them away like he's done for me a few times. He catches my hand before I can, though, pressing it back to my neck. You'll be fine. You're gonna be fine. It's not bad. It's not bad. I actually chuckle a little at that, because this is very bad. I can tell without even being able to see it. I see the edges of my vision blurring again. My eyes seem to try and roll upward on their own, but Amicus gives me a little shake, and that brings me back for a moment. Hey, stay here, okay? You'll stay with me, yeah? I nod deliriously, the overwhelming feelings of calm and warmth keeping me happy and full of love, even though I know what's happening, what's about to happen to me. I'm here. I try to speak, but I only send more bubbling blood out of my neck. No, you don't need to talk. I have you. How unfair. My last moments, and I can't even tell my wolf that I love him. I reach up with my free hand, setting it gently against Amicus' face. I caress his cheek softly, knowingly, and though he holds it against his face with his own free paw, he shakes his head at me. Stop that! You're gonna be fine. Felix will heal you. We'll rest up in my room. I'll take you to the island. I'll take you to the city. We'll be happy. We'll grow old together. The tears start spilling over again, and I just try to keep the smile on my face, to show Amicus that I'm okay, that I'm happy, that this is all okay. And though his grief is hard to look at, there's nothing I'd rather see. There's nothing I'd rather be seeing at the end. My wolf's face, framed by the pinkish shreds of the sunset. And then, as my eyes start rolling back again, I can't stop them, no matter how hard Amicus shakes me. Kyllian! No! Please! Don't leave me here! Please! Come back to me! You can't leave me alone like this! I'm here. No! Speak to me! I'm staying with you. I drift through the blackness, feeling a sense of peace like I've never known before. Even though the space is empty, I feel it crowded with others. So many others, or is it one another? Or is it one other? I sense so many different minds and thoughts melded together as one. So, interesting thing about this scene. This is what I've heard, that people who die and come back, a lot of them feel this. Like, they're around something, or others, and there's like a feeling of like warmth and quiet, and stillness. This is what makes me think there's something more after death. Maybe we are actually all connected in a way. Maybe when we die, we just, in a sense, join the rest who've gone before us. Maybe that's not so bad, you know. Never be alone. We just don't... There's just so many questions up in the air about this. Anyway, not to get too philosophical. I sense so many different minds and thoughts melded together as one. Hello. We apologize for what has happened to you. We know that you are confused. We told you that this could be prevented. And it will be. You will not leave him to be alone. Be at peace for now, for he will come for you. Wait for him. Amicus is the victor. All hail Emperor Amicus. The words sound hollow in Amicus's ears, and so does the faint roar of the crowds in Adastra City all the way across the lake. The wolf can only stare down at the human in his arms, suddenly realizing how light and fragile he actually is, and the blood. So much blood that paints the front of his human that just moments ago had been so full of life. A tear drops from the tip of Amicus's nose and onto Kyllian's neck, mixing with the blood that has now stopped flowing from the deep gash. Air no longer bubbles through the red liquid either. A strange choking sound works its way out of Amicus's lips, one he's never heard himself make before. The overflowing sadness in his heart has seemingly run out to be replaced by something empty, cold. Like there's nothing there anymore. Still, Amicus wills the human to live, to use those special healing abilities he seems to possess, to breathe again. But even as Virginia moves to find Felix, Amicus knows that nothing can be done for something like this. Cato had very nearly beheaded the human, cutting through everything that was important. Cradling Kyllian's head carefully, Amicus raises the young human up to his chest, hugging him tightly, squeezing his eyes shut and feeling the welling tears pour out over his cheeks, down his chin into the human's hair. It's quiet, and Amicus opens his eyes to see Neferu still sitting there in front of him, staring in shock. When the jackal meets his eyes, he quickly dips his head, lowering his ears. "Amicus, I'm so sorry!" The wolf raises his eyes to see a drone just over Neferu's head, hovering as its lens focuses voyeuristically on him, broadcasting his grief to Adastra. But this is nothing like those dramas, the tragedies of romantic death he'd seen play out on the screen so many times before. There's nothing romantic about this, as Amicus is sure his audience is finding it to be right now. This is real death. The feeling is familiar. It's hollow, empty, suffocating, like being pulled down into a bottomless, cold, black ocean. It's like when Mother died and Cassius had screamed over her body like a wounded animal. It's like when he heard the news his father had died and how he'd fallen to his knees, clutching his chest and gasping for air like he'd been shot. But this is worse somehow, and Amicus can't even comprehend it. It hits him harder than anything he's ever felt in his life. Everything is going gray, the color being sucked from his vision, from his life. Even though he's not sobbing now, the tears are flowing freely down his cheeks. He isn't sure how he can recover from this at all. He knows he probably never will. This is his fault. He'd forced the human here. He made himself feel better by saying Kyllian had a choice in the matter, was free to do as he pleased. But that wasn't true at all. He'd taken the human's life, just as Cato had now. Amicus realizes then that he's no different from the wolves he'd thought himself to be above. That he was more enlightened somehow in trying to hold sapient life all equal. He's worse. He's even worse. And even thought it would break his heart never to have met Kyllian. Amicus only wishes that he never brought him here in the first place. To his death. The thought brings another wave of heart-wrenching grief to crash through his hollow chest. And for a moment, he almost can't breathe. "Please, Kyllian!" The young wolf whispers into the human's hair, his voice now only a soft whine as fresh tears blur his vision. His teachings since he was a pup begin to come to mind. Kyllian's soul, like the soul of all sapients, is ascending to the greater intelligence, mingling with the lives of billions of others, with his father, his mother, maybe Cassius too. A place he'd also join one day, but the human soul belonged here, in his arms, not to be mixed and consumed by the parents. Not yet. That mixed, singular being isn't Kyllian. It's like a beautiful mural being shattered, then reconstructed into something else. Funny you mention a mural. Kyllian still exists. At this very moment he exists, but it's no longer him. Amicus grits his teeth, feeling anger begin to overcome the overwhelming grief. No. 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 How dare they? This isn't fair. The parents had spoken to Kyllian, had told him what to do, had led him to this point. When the human had told Amicus that he was worried about something terrible happening, Amicus grits his teeth, remembering how he'd brushed it off, even though he'd told Kyllian that he believed him, that he'd have nothing to worry about if he followed their guidance. No. Amicus shakes his head, still clutching onto the human tightly. Amicus? Neferu's voice is tentative, almost fearful, like he's worried about what Amicus might do. Amicus isn't even sure of that himself as he rises to his feet, cradling the human in his one good arm, easily able to do so because of their difference in size. He turns and walks quickly towards the palace, almost jogging, ignoring the various jolts of pain throughout his body. He doesn't even glance down at Cato's unmoving body as he passes by. The wolf's expression is stoic now, a strange rage bubbling just under the surface. Amicus! Neferu calls after him, but Amicus ignores the jackal, set on one thing, and one thing only. The parents might have taken his parents. Maybe even his brother, but they aren't going to take his human. He won't allow it. As the wolf enters the palace, he notices Alex pacing the hallway. He stops as he sees the wolf approaching. Amicus, I heard you're now Emperor and... He trails off as he sees Kyllian cradled in the wolf's arms. the blood covering the body, flowing down a limply hanging arm to drip gently from the fingertips. Amicus brushes past the cat, eyes set straight ahead, expressionless. Nothing seems to exist outside the wolf's tunnel vision. Soon he comes to the door he's looking for and leans forward, pressing his injured shoulders to the panel to open it, ignoring the blaze of pain that shoots through him as he does. Amicus approaches the archive, glaring at the orb, as if the machinery itself is the parents. The big wolf comes to a stop in front of it, staring up at the glowing blue structure for a moment before looking down at Kyllian. The ashen color of the skin is unnerving, so different from the deep tones it once had. Kyllian is dead. Amicus knows that, but he won't accept it. The wolf presses his face close to the human's for a moment, feeling the fading warmth before kissing him gently on top of his head. With that, Amicus leans forward, pressing them both to the sphere. Then he connects, and he merges with the universe. We continue to drift through infinite space, content. Despite everything, we trust the beings around us, all of us, and the parents. The parents. This was all meant to happen. And though it was hard and terrible, the worst is now over. And that thought alone is enough to keep us completely relaxed. Waves and waves of relief washing over us. In the cacophony of thoughts and emotions, though, something stands out. Though the beings meld together, one seems to become separate for a moment, solely to focus directly on us, on me. This brings me out of my trance for a bit, and I turn my attention to them. Amicus? But then, as I focus more on this being, I get a different feeling. Not him, but her. It seems like she wants to speak to me. She's not familiar, not someone I've spoken to before, but the intensity with which she is focusing on me. Hello? I reach out, but then suddenly the amalgamation of intelligence begins to pull away, and I feel myself extracted from its mass. The feeling is bizarre, and I almost miss the crowding of thoughts and feelings, being one with many. And then I feel myself again, my body, beginning to materialize out of nothing. The nothingness around me slowly becomes something. For a moment I'm floating in the air, then I'm being held by something strong and solid. The first thing I see is Amicus's face. He's looking down at me, grim and determined. Just as I focus on him, though, his expression changes. Kyllian? I shift a little, trying to focus better on my wolf. Kyllian! Suddenly I'm surrounded by fur, getting squeezed tight against Amicus, my face pressed into his neck. Instinctively I wrap my arms around him. Oh gods, are you real? Tell me you're real, Kyllian, please! He gasps the words like he's coming up for air after diving to the bottom of the lake. 1 second, y'all. Water time. I'm having trouble remembering things. Why he seems so upset. But I know something bad happened. Now it's over. So I try to comfort him. I'm real. I'm here. My voice is strange, like I haven't used it in a while. At first, I think I'm back in Amicus's room after I've woken up from the coma, still trying to convince him that everything is okay. Like we'd gone to sleep and just woken up, and he wants to be reassured that I'm not going to disappear again. But then I remember that Cato came in that morning. With things fall into place with a long row of giant, heavy dominoes. I suddenly sit up a bit, against Amicus's chest, pushing back so I can look up at him. Wait! The fight! Cato! Amicus, are you okay? I look him over, trying to check his wounds. The blood and swelling that I'd seen in the amphitheater is gone, though. He's clean and well-groomed, and his arm seems fine judging by his sturdiness underneath me. My brief look at him has ended, though, as Amicus suddenly yanks me back against his chest, sobbing against me. I've seen Amicus cry before, back in the dungeon, but not these gut-wrenching sobs that I can feel heaving through my own body. It serves to shock me to my senses even more. Firmly, I push back against his chest, creating space between us so I can hold his face in my hands. He just looks back at me, crying openly, and I watch as the tears well out of his eyes and seem to disappear into the fur of his cheeks. I'm sure we both want to say a lot in this moment. What happened? What's happening now? What will happen? But at this particular moment in time and space, we're back together. It's impossible, but it's happening, so I cling to him again, and he just holds me as I press my face against my chest, listening to his hammering heart, squeezing my eyes shut. If this is eternity, then I'm completely fine with it. I'm not sure how much time passes, but as this thought crosses my mind a few times, my eyes suddenly fly open. I press back again, looking up at the wolf, holding his face again. Wait, if you're here, did you... I wonder suddenly if maybe Amicus had been seriously wounded in the fight, but he didn't make it after all. But Amicus shakes his head gently, his sobs having quieted to subdued sniffles and hiccups. No, I'm fine. I won. Cato is dead. I'm flooded with relief. He strokes my hair gently, slowly, and I wonder why he still looks so sad. But how are you here? Aren't I... I look around at the infinite space surrounding us. Stars and planets are unusually close, stunningly bright, and unimaginably vivid. The blues, purples, and blacks are deep and monolithic, signaling the endless space that stretches beyond. Am I dead? Amicus pulls me back against him, forcing me to look away from the churning universe. No, you're here. It sounds more like he's convincing himself rather than me. But where's here? Amicus is quiet for a moment, and I find myself content to lean against him for a while, just wanting to be close to him. At some point, Amicus had sat down, and I'm cradled in his lap. Considering we're not just floating around in zero gravity, I have to assume there's something solid underneath us somehow. Amicus sniffles again. I melded my mind with the archive to speak to the parents. That's all I know. I think. Did I do the same, then? I was holding you when I did it. My neck. The blood. I look up at him again. Amicus, am I alive? Amicus looks at me for a moment before his face screws up and tears well up again. I don't know. He whines out the words, and I immediately hug him again. Hey, I'm okay, see? I'm here. After sobbing, another sobbing fit starts. And now I know why. I must have died, and now for whatever reason the parents have let us reunite somehow. And I know that Amicus must be wondering the same thing that I am. How long is this going to last? I try to think of what to say, in case this is our last moment together, in case I am going to be absorbed again. My mind comes up short in the weirdest of ways, only able to think of things that don't matter, so I settle on what had just happened. You're Emperor now, Amicus. Amicus nods against me, not trusting his voice at the moment, apparently. I'm so happy for you. Now he shakes his head, smearing tears against my cheek. I hate seeing him like this. I hate that this might be the last way that I'll see him. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right there. Whew. Well, at least they're somewhat reunited, you know? Anyway, y'all, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Leave a super thanks or tip if you can, it always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!